Today we have an important topic on our hands, and that important topic is Natlan, and whether or not it is flopping or killing Genshin Impact compared to other regions that we've had previously. So with Natlan, it was something that's a little different, right? We have all these different exploration abilities that we can use, not only in like the 4 and 5 star characters that we have. Like we started off with Mualani and Kachina, and Mualani could ride on a shark and go across land, but she's really good for water. And then we have Kachina, who's really good for climbing, and then that gets evolved with Kinich and Shilin and Odoron. But we also have animals or like mounts that we can turn into that pretty much give us these like 5 and 4 star characteristics, but for free. So you don't have to actually pull for a character for the exploration inside of Natlan. Outside of Natlan, it's a kind of different story. But in terms of that, I think the exploration is probably one of the best it's ever been, just because it's so accessible and so abundant. I restarted Genshin Impact about a month ago on a Sayu only account. Rest in peace, that video never took off, but that's okay. And throughout that Mondstadt playthrough, and a little bit of leeway that I've played on my own time, one thing becomes abundantly clear, and it's that mobility and exploration in the early game of Genshin was absolutely terrible. Like if you didn't have characters like Sayu or Yalan or any character that has mobility put into their kit, it was kind of annoying to travel like anywhere in Genshin. And to another extent, like I feel like Inazuma is also guilty of this. I say Sumeru is where they started understanding that, we're making these big spaces, we need to have, exploration that lets our characters, lets our community explore the places without having to walk everywhere or climb everywhere. But even then in Sumeru, one thing I struggle with is having to climb a bunch of rocks or a bunch of mountains. But then we get to Fontaine, and in Fontaine, I think they handled it really well. A lot of Fontaine exploration is underwater, and while Fontaine is, I've said this before so many times, while Fontaine is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, it's probably one of my favorite regions and probably my favorite story region out of all of them so far. I still feel like the exploration is a little lackluster above ground, and that's not the main focus. Of course, the main focus is being underwater. Eventually everything just starts looking blue, and there's only so many times you can see blue before it's like, okay, I'm underwater swimming, you know what I'm saying? So it was cool. It would have been really cool if they implemented it for other places in the game, but I know that would take way too long to do. And then we get to Natlan, and with Natlan, I feel like they absolutely killed it. I think exploration is the best it's ever been in Genshin, because you're, like I said in the beginning of the video, you have the ability to use 5 and 4 star movement, but for free. And it's very abundant. You could literally find any of the forms of travel in Natlan in about 5 or 10 seconds of walking left, right, front, or backwards. Like you'll find a dinosaur dragon creature to transform into, and boom, you have the exploration built into that mount. And I think that's perfect. And I think that's honestly, personally, one of the reasons why I've enjoyed Natlan a lot in terms of exploring is because you're exploring as the creature living in the environment itself. And I know that like exploration isn't everybody's thing. Some people play Genshin for the story, some people play it for the exploration and the world building and the open world and stuff like that. For me, like I think it's really cool that you get to become the environment. You get to become the things that otherwise you would just kill for materials and a little bit of Mora. It's Mora. So in terms of exploration and world building and how it feels to be in Natlan, I think they killed it. I think the atmosphere is great. The music is amazing. But I think one of the reasons why people are a little turned off about Natlan is honestly the character designs. Now, me personally, I actually really do enjoy the character designs of Natlan. I think Mualani looks great. I think Kinich looks great. Of course, we had that thing that colorism thing happen in the beginning of Natlan's cycle, and that whole debate behind all that. But in terms of just how the characters' clothing are and how they're designed to their kit, I think it looked good. But I'm not gonna lie, there's something about Fontaine, right? Like I don't know if we can all agree on this, but for me, there's something about the Fontaine character designs that I think they like kind of peaked right there, and I think it's gonna be hard to kind of top that. I'm not saying that the characters in Natlan look terrible. I think they look very different, and I think that's very good. Like there's a lot of richness and vast representation in a lot of the different tribes in Natlan. You can distinctly tell which ones are which and which characters are which from which tribe, right? But Fontaine, man, like you have characters like Farina, and I mean, look at Farina. The community fell in love with Farina in the first 4.0 teaser trailer. It's crazy to say 4.0 because I remember it like it was yesterday, but now we're at 5. But anyways, and then you have characters like Navia. I remember seeing Navia in the first 4.0 1.0 trailer, and I was like, oh my goodness, this character looks amazing. Nivelette, Chlorand. Do you remember how people reacted to seeing Chlorand for the first time? It was absolutely insane. And I think that those reactions are ones that aren't really present in Natlan. And I don't really know, like, for me, like, I made this observation the other day with the help of my girlfriend. I prefer more regal looking characters like how Farina, Navia, Arlecchino. I can't believe I forgot about the father, how Arlecchino looks. And I think that those, like, Fontaine character design was so good because they also looked vast and different, and their characters had their own personality with how they dress themselves. And again, in Natlan, I feel like that's the big reason why we're not seeing as much hype generated. Now, granted, I don't think Genshin's dying. I don't think Natlan is a flop of a region or anything like that, but they have done things a little differently if you haven't noticed. And for example, this 5.2, okay, kind of spoilers, I guess. This 5.2 Archon quest is about 45 minutes long, maybe 30 if you like fully speedrun everything. And again, it's an interlude, and we already kind of knew that the story was going to take a break in 5.2, but it's the first time in a long time that we haven't had an Archon quest conclude in a 0.2 or had an Archon come out in 0.2. So, you know, we're getting the Archon in 5.3 most likely in the conclusion of Natlan's story. And while I'm on the topic of story, I will say that Natlan's story is very good in my opinion. I think we've had a lot of good lore drops. We had another spoiler alert, you know, we had the whole sky is fake thing confirmed to be true, and we had the whole, you know, Pyronosis confirmation and the Pyro Archon and how everything is kind of connected to the Plume of Death or the God of Death or the Shade of Death. And I think that that's absolutely fantastic because as a huge lore person, I have been dying to know about this. Another thing is we have, again, spoilers again, we have that the captain is from Conria and that he's cursed in kind of the same sense as Dainsleif, but not as much. And in this 5.2 update, we find out that, you know, he might go and fight death itself. Like he thinks that death is the reason why he's cursed and why Conrians were cursed to the whole immortality thing. And I think that in terms of the story, it's absolutely amazing, but having a break at kind of the not really climax, but having a break like in between the stories, I think it's a little different. So it's different from the Genshin community to kind of adjust to that. I will say the world quest this time around for 5.2 is absolutely amazing. We get so much lore about the dragons, the original people of Natlan, and you know how that all ties into the overarching story of Natlan and how it shapes the environment. And I think that was really cool. Like, I'm really enjoying exploring the old dragon ruins and finding out all the lore about that. There was even like a sword in the stone Excalibur thing that you can solve as a puzzle. Again, kind of tying everything back together. I understand the frustrations that people are having. I understand why this region is kind of throwing people a little off. I genuinely do think it comes down to the character design, because at the end of the day, a lot of people play Genshin for the characters. I know I do. I pull for characters when they look cool. That's why I saved up so much to get C2 R1 Arlecchino for free. I mean, I had Welkin in Battle Pass, so it's not really for free. It's like $15, but I saved up as much as I could without splurging money and wailing out to get Arlecchino, because I was like, oh my god, this character's so cool. And again, I'm excited for the Pyro Archon. I skipped out on Chaska recently, and don't get me wrong, I understand like the Chaska hate, and I also get the Chaska love. I think it's really cool that Chaska is an animal character that flies around on a gigantic pistol. Like, that's super sick. I think it's cool, no matter, like, I can't really see the criticisms with how she plays, because I think it's so cool, but I'm skipping because I know the Pyro Archon is going to be absolutely amazing. Whether she's a main DPS or a sub DPS, I think that she's going to be absolutely amazing regardless, and I can't wait. So that's why I've been saving up a lot of my wishes personally. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Natlan as a whole. I can completely understand, like, I have some friends that haven't really been playing Natlan as much, and you know, that's due to a couple different reasons, but I've also seen a lot of the community on Genshin on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok talk about how, you know, Natlan hasn't really piqued their interest as much. And another side tangent, the Natlan Archon quest start to finish is about like almost like 10 hours long, I think, if I'm not mistaken. If you don't skip any dialogue, it's like 10 or 12 hours long, which is cool. I love that, but it's not for everybody. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys think down below. I would like to see your guys' feedback, and please keep it civil. Please don't be stupid. Like, I know some people are gonna see this and they're either gonna instantly type out a slur, or they're gonna say something like keep yourself safe or whatever, because that happens a lot in these videos for some reason. I think it's just the bad side of the Genshin community in a whole. But anyways, keep it civil, please. Love you guys. Have a good one. Bye bye. Oh, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because it helps.